More on shadow banking and its impact. I'm joined by Vidak Radonjic. He's the managing partner of the Beryl Consulting Group. Welcome back to the show. Good to see you, Vidak.
Good evening, Phil.
So help us out. I think we have a pretty good idea of what shadow banking is, but maybe explain to us, maybe in even more layman terms for us, to the consumer. What does that mean?
Layman term is anything that is non-bank regulated. So in other words, it could be a hedge fund, it could be a CDS, which is, it could be a money market fund. So shadow banking is actually, it has grown tremendously. Currently, the amount is $75 trillion on the world scale. And that basically includes, if we account all the top 20 countries in the world.
Look, I have to say that's a very broad definition. So basically, if I loaned you money, that would be considered shadow banking, right?
Yes.
What's the problem with that, though? I mean, this has been happening since the beginning of time.
The problem is accountability and transparency, because the regulators, when they try to do something with the monetary policy, they cannot influence shadow banking. So as much as they want to try to raise rates or reduce rates, they cannot really control the economy. So if economy has too much shadow banking, then pretty much it means that central bankers cannot do much to stimulate economy or to you know, or vice versa.
I mean, look, we're talking about this because it's a big problem, but in particular China. It is a problem. Officials there have talked about it, and they have been trying to stop it. They call it different words. Some call it trust loans, some call it individual loans, group loans. I mean, there's about 50 different definitions of this. What's China doing that's working?
I think shadow banking has a bad reputation because of 2007, 2008 crisis that basically started in the United States. United States has much higher danger of shadow banking hurting United States system than China has, because in China, your question again was, if you could repeat, please.
Well, what I'm asking is, what's China doing that's working?
Okay, so what China doing that's working is China has a very low debt rate. In other words, the people who are buying houses in China, most of them they're buying with cash. So and also, given that fact, it's much more difficult for China economy to go downhill than for somebody who is issuing structured loans that are basically collateralized, which happened in 2008 when we had the crisis in the United States.
But now, you said earlier, and I'm going to repeat what you said, is you said there's a bigger threat in the United States. I think some watching might be asking why?
Well, because United States, the system is very complex. There's so many various financial instruments that do not exist in China. So whenever you have more complexity and derivatives, derivatives can be weapon of mass destruction, as Buffett said many times. So in China, the system is more plain and simple. So from that point of view, if the system is more plain and simple, logically, it's much easier to curtail any inefficiencies in the system.
So I guess the problem I have with this whole thing is that, I mean, you can, I guess you can force people to not borrow from each other. If you and I wanted to borrow money and start a business from each other, I mean, why should the regulators have a say in you and I doing business together? I mean, I just find it very difficult. You're going to regulate a business for people who actually don't want to be regulated.
You have a great point, Phil. And also, if we didn't have shadow banking, the economic growth in China would not be, 8% for the last 10 years or so. It would be maybe 5% or 6%, because, if we just specifically talking about China, China's banking system is extremely conservative. And lots of businesses, especially private businesses, entrepreneurs, they cannot go just to a bank to get money. They have to go through the shadow banking system to get the money.
Very quickly, we talked about China, U.S. What about Europe? Do they have a problem or not?
Europe has many problems. A shadow bank system, obviously, it's a problem because their monetary system, their banking system is much more sophisticated than systems in emerging markets like India or China. Nevertheless, the ECB is trying to do more in terms of the margin. For example, in the United States, the risk that I see is leverage. And brokers, in some instances, you are able to basically go overnight and borrow four to five times against what you have. So these are new rules that some banks are being governed it. So in my opinion, Europe is a little bit less opaque than the United States system.
All right, well, maybe Greece can take some of that knowledge and borrow some money for themselves. They might need it. Thank you very much, Vidak. Good to see you.